Nobody tells you this. Nobody tells you this.
That's a hot topic right now.
And my practical advisor would be like, Greg, like, no. They'll
Don't
say,
do that.
"Oh,
Yeah.
Don't do that.
You just spent 8 weeks at this place, like you want something to show for it."
Path are we walking today?
We're walking engagement. We're now on Spotify, and so we want to see more engagement from the teacher candidates in our program.
Now it's available. Go stream it.
Spotify.
Spotify. Here we go.
Spotify.
Spotify.
Hello and welcome to Keeping Up with Consecutives. Two highly requested guests. Who do we have today? Starting on the left.
You have Kyle Timmons right here.
And I'm Greg. Just one name.
I want to start off this episode by saying, now on Spotify, Keeping Up with Consecutives. You can go stream it right now. Listen to it on your commute because 90% of the people in this program come from Hamilton. So they need to do something on that 35 minutes on the QEW. So now it's available. Go stream it.
Hey, big part of Teachers College is about accessibility. And
True.
Jacob Hamill here is just demonstrating that exquisitely. So there we go. Spotify.
UDL.
Keep it up for next week when I hire a sign language interpreter to stand right beside me.
You're walking the third path right now.
I'm walking the third path. We're going to be talking about some questions that people have about Teachers College at Brock, the consecutive or even a little bit of the Con Ed program, answering some of the concerns. And yeah, we're going to be walking the third path today.
Beautiful.
If only we had some physical copies.
I actually do have them.
You have some physical copies?
They're in my briefcase. You want me to go get them?
Go get it?
I've also made it through 7 months already without getting a physical copy. So just take that for...
For legal reasons, I did not take 180 pictures of one of my friend's textbooks. It appears Kyle has had the third path on him at all times. What is the book of the day for this podcast? What is the theme? What path are we walking today?
We're walking engagement because we're now on Spotify now, and so we want to see more engagement from the teacher candidates in our program.
We're walking the engagement path
We're walking
today.
the engagement path. Book number 5.
Book number 5.
Yeah.
Just leave them there.
I will. They're right here.
Awesome. So I got some questions lined up. So let's get right into it with the first one. How does Teachers College work at Brock? 1 semester classes? 1 semester placement? Anybody want to answer
This
it?
is pretty easy, so I'll take it. Get a little warm-up shot in. So we'll talk about first year. First year starts off with 12 weeks of classes. So if you've done an undergrad right around the time when like your classmates are getting ready for exams, like you're finishing up your classes, and then you've got like a week off to get your life in order because then you're going into your first placement block. Just kind of changed it up. It's now an 8-week placement block at Brock, which like is good in ways. It means that we're going to be here till the end of May, which I'm not exactly happy with, but
Yeah. We're walking the halls. There's nobody here.
yeah, so it's kind of split up into like 3 sections, I'd say, for your first year. It's like 12 weeks of classes, 8 weeks of placement, and then 12 weeks of classes again.
Yeah.
At least in first year. Then in second year, it's 6 weeks classes, 6 weeks practicum, 6 weeks classes, 6 weeks practicum, then you're done. So
Then you're done, yeah. And the last
you're
one, you're
done.
like fully teaching.
And you're out in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Also, about that last one, like I've heard from a couple of people, like they'll make it through like 3 weeks of their block, and like they'll get pulled off to like an actual like full-time position somewhere.
Yeah.
Like if teachers are like really in need, like that's
Okay.
that's actually kind of I won't say common. Like I'm sure you have to be like pretty good at what you do, or just be in the right spot, right time.
Yeah.
But it happens.
And
So,
you'll have your transitional certificate where you can, like, if you want, where you can be a supply teacher for your class that you're in. So
Yeah.
that works
Exactly.
as well.
exactly.
But yeah, so now that we're in the program, how's the workload? Do you find it lighter or heavier than when you were doing an undergrad degree?
Much lighter. Yeah.
Much
from
lighter?
undergraduate degree. I mean, I did a history undergrad, so I was used to writing lots of really long papers and doing lots of research. When you get to teachers college, it's much simpler. It's like, there's a lot of like organizer assignments and stuff like that. So I wouldn't worry about the workload going into it. The only thing you have to worry about is like the workload during your placement. That's a lot because you're prepping lessons every night. But for the class time, not very heavy.
Yeah, I would totally agree. My undergrad was in kinesiology, but I took a lot of physics courses as well, and it was like it's definitely a lot of hours just like getting through that. Obviously, you need to like kind of excel in it to get accepted to consecutive programs like around Ontario. But yeah, the workload like for the first block, I remember thinking it was like kind of heavy, but I was also playing rugby like at the time,
Yeah.
so like most of my time went towards that. And now that like rugby season's out and I'm out of placement, I've got 4 3-hour classes, and maybe like I have an hour for each class like outside of that. So it's like you got lots of time. You can work another job. You can do whatever you gotta do.
Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people do have part-time jobs. I've heard. So.
Yeah.
Bouncing off that, what's your class schedule like? You kind of touched on it. Is it Monday to Friday, 9 to 6 type deal? Do you have like a day off or?
I've got a 1 3-hour class Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So Wednesdays are like all off for Teachers College. I've got a class every day, which I guess would make it tough for commuting. I have heard of people that like live in St. Catharines, go to school in Burlington though, and can like figure out to get all their classes stacked on one day. So it's just like one quick commute. Makes for a pretty like tough long day.
Yeah.
But like if you can figure something out like that, that'd be sweet too.
Yeah. So your classes can basically land on every day except for Wednesday, which I think is reserved for professional development days. But in first year, we only had like 2 required ones, maybe 3.
I think
some more optional
3,
ones.
Yeah, nothing major though.
Yeah, nothing major though. You can, and even if you do, it's like 2 hours out of the Wednesday.
Yeah,
so it's a nice catch-up day, I find.
Usually they're online.
This one is a bit controversial.
Nice. I'm ready to start arguing with Kyle.
Looking for some thoughts on this topic, but this is also a rant. I recently started Brock's Bachelor Education program, and I have to say, I am really disappointed with how it's going so far. I am aware that we aren't even 2 weeks into the program, and I knew from other comments on this sub that most programs are fluff and practicums are where you will actually learn. But it feels like I am straight up wasting my time at school. Why am I paying so much money to complete this professional program? Why are B.Ed programs structured like this? And how can we change them to be helpful for future teachers?
Honestly, they kind of hit it right on the nose. The time in placement is like invaluable. One of the big things I kind of figured out when I was in placement was when you're a teacher, when you're on your own, like there's no one to like throw you a lifeboat, like help you out along the way. Like if you don't come to your day prepared with something, like it's up to you to figure something out. And obviously, like they can't teach you that in the classes. I wouldn't say like the courses are all just fluff. There are some really good ones. Like we just finished an art course.
Yes.
And I by no means am an artist.
Agreed.
Actually,
well, same. I mean, I agreed for myself, not for you.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. But like actually, our prof kind of pulled me aside and she was like, "You're a great example of like when students are trying really hard and putting a good amount of effort in, and even if like they're challenging themselves and they're not successful, you still have to like congratulate them and like show like their achievement." I'm like, "Oh, so you're saying I wasn't successful? This is the best. It's the best piece I've ever done. Like, what are you telling me?" But like before that class day, I would have no idea how to teach art. I tried to do something like in my placement, and it was very bare bones, like just kind of an activity. Like I didn't actually go into any like the art principles. Like I didn't really understand that. But even just like 6 weeks of like getting familiarized with the curriculum, like it's definitely helpful in some way. Maybe you can talk more on that.
Yeah, no, I would agree that like some of the courses we've had have had a lot of useful information in them. The art one really stands out. The science one we're taking right now I think is pretty good, pretty helpful for actually structuring lessons. Other courses that we are assigned to do don't seem to be as helpful. I think that there is some fluff present in the program, and I think that has to do with the fact that it's now 2 years when it used to be 1 year. I feel like some of it's stretched out, and I mean some of it's also teaching style as well of some of the instructors. I would say there seems to be a little bit of a communication problem in the department. A lot of the teachers and staff in the Faculty of Education don't really seem to communicate very well. So for example, was it that virtual week in March break? Where
nobody had any idea.
Nobody had any idea where we were going, if we could run an asynchronous class, if we could run a synchronous class that was online. It was very strange. So I think that like certainly some of the there is critiques of the program, I think, that are certainly valid, and I think fluff and miscommunication are certainly 2 of them.
Yeah. I should have also captured when the year this was taken, but in every single class that we have, they all start off by saying, this course is designed, it's very reflective. Every single year they take feedback and improve the course. So the course this person could be talking about could probably be 20%, 100% better by the time we took it.
That's true.
You can tell like a lot of our instructors, a lot of them come from like long careers like in education, like as teachers, like in classrooms. You can tell the ones that do have that experience, like they understand what actually happens in the classroom. Like it's more like practical based, like, and the tips they give us are actually helpful. You can also tell like
When they're
who hasn't
yes.
been. And like it's just be like so like reading focused, like curriculum focused, and just like really loading up on like I don't want to say the opposite of intangibles, but then like we'll go to replacement, and I'll come with like all these concepts and stuff that I'll have learned from like these fluffy courses,
Yeah.
and my practical advisor will be like, Greg, like, no.
Yeah, I kind of had the same
Like
thing
it'll
too.
be like,
yeah.
like that's great, and like
Yeah.
you should be thinking about that, and you should have that in the back of mind. But like when you're up in front of like your class, like you just gotta be a person. Like you just
Yeah.
gotta be, like,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
just gotta go with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. How could we change the bachelor education program structure-wise, and how could we make it more helpful for teachers? How would you improve the program?
that's a bit of a tough question because obviously like we've just gone through our first year, and the second year is structured a little bit differently, like 2 6-week courses. And I will. Both my parents are teachers. My dad went to Mac, but then went to Queens for Teachers College, and it was just a 1 year at that time, and he had 3 2-week placements at like different schools in each one, and different classes for each one as well. And when I tell him about my 8-week placement, just like in one class, he talks about like how much like how he would have rathered that, because you actually get to like connect with the students. You actually get that feel of like being part of a school community, kind of feel more like a teacher. He said every time he was like just like actually feeling comfortable, then he was yanked out and he was going to a different class. So I would like say probably the 8-week first placement is like very valuable. This might be recency bias, but in our science class we're doing like demonstrations in front of like the class, and we're actually teaching again. And like I haven't taught since I got a placement like mid-February, and it's beginning of April now. And as I'm doing this science demonstration, like I'm getting a little nervous, like a little sweaty,
Yeah.
like hands are shaking, and I'm like, this is weird. I taught for 8 weeks, like I was in front of like a whole class, like I had none of these like nervousness, like these jitters at all. And now like I'm back teaching like 6 weeks later, like 7 weeks later, and I'm a bit nervous. So like I think the science demonstrations were awesome. I think we need to do more of that. And I think just too much of the program is sitting down, listening, reading the curriculum. Like if we're supposed to be teaching science for the first time, like we should be teaching science, doing those demonstrations. If we're going to be teaching art for the first time, we should be bringing like an art activity forward and like teaching that as well. You know what I mean? Like there should be more practical experience like in the classroom too.
I agree fully. I mean, it's called Teachers College, so college usually means more hands-on. So I think the more hands-on stuff we get, the better the program is. And I mean, for something like teaching, it's basically a trade, right? So I think that having sort of activities and experience that sort of force you to actually do the thing you're going to be doing is the way to go. Yeah, rather than lots of this sitting around listening to somebody read off slides, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
imagine you pay all this money to go to learn how to teach, and they don't teach you how to teach.
I know.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. You get into the practicum, and the teacher's like, "Oh yeah, I'll try something. Oh, they taught you that in Teachers College, didn't you?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Well,
They'll
Don't
say,
do that.
"Oh,
Yeah.
don't do that."
We'll see how that works for you.
Yeah.
Let's see how long you keep doing that when you're
Yeah.
like, got your full-time teaching job.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait to have my full-time teaching job and fill out a lesson template 6 times a day for every lesson for the rest of my
Yes. No,
life.
that's going to be really fun. Yeah. Make sure you get
Yeah.
those expectations in there
Yeah.
and all 3 columns.
Yeah.
The truth to that too is like if you're spending all your time like worrying about these lesson plans, like getting like the paperwork done and all that, like if you're worried about that, like you're not present with the students, you're not like actually trying to connect with them, like you're not thinking about how their basketball tournament's going, and not like trying to actually like be an important person in their lives. And that's what the teaching is, right? Like
Yeah.
no one signs up for this job to make sure they knock down everything in the curriculum. Like obviously that's like that comes with it, but you've got to like actually be in the moment with them like all the time too.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other paperwork to do as well.
Plenty of other
Yeah,
paperwork.
So I think we all saw that in practicum. There's plenty of other
Yes.
teacher paperwork to do that is not
Plenty.
lesson plans. Yeah.
Teacher candidates this year have to do the Casper. How do you think you would have fared pretty well getting here if you still had to do the Casper? That's a hot topic right now.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah. I've heard a lot about that.
I was just talking to like a buddy of mine from my undergrad, and he's thinking about applying to Teachers College at Brock for next year. And I told him like, hey, like if you have the grades, if you have like the experience, like you would fine. He says they don't even ask about your experience anymore. Like
Nope.
like there's nowhere for you to actually like advocate for yourself and say like these are like incredible experiences for me, and this is like why I want to be a teacher. This has like shaped me into like the kind of teacher I'm going to be. Like obviously you'll have your own pedagogy, and that comes from like your early like pre-teaching experiences, and like now they've just kind of ripped that like out of the application process, which is something that I relied on to get in.
Yes,
like
same.
I was able to talk about my coaching and like how I want to use that and like be a coach like when I'm a teacher. And like I'll personally say that my application would not have been as strong if I didn't use that and I like had a Casper. Even if I fared well in the Casper, like I was very confident in my experience part. So that could be tough for some people.
Yeah, I was in a similar boat as well. I mean, I'm pretty good at writing, not to toot my own horn. So I think that when I was given these text boxes to sort of talk about my experience and how I would use it in Teachers College, I used them quite well. So I think that teachers that lost out on that, or applicants that lost out on that, they're losing an important part of the application process. My cousin just applied to Teachers College. She's a year younger than me. And she got in, but she had to do the Casper thing, and it was very nerve-wracking because it's you're not really saying much about yourself, from what I understand. It's more scientific, I guess.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like the university just gets what percentile you finish in. It's
First
just a
quarter,
number.
second quarter, third quarter, quartile, and fourth
Yeah.
quartile, I think is the highest.
So
Right.
it just takes so much like personalization out of it, which I can understand like for admissions office, like that would make it a lot easier.
Oh, so much easier.
A lot more like objective.
Yeah.
But also like there's nothing like objective about being a teacher. Like every
Yeah.
teacher's got their own style, they've got their own way to connect with students. Like we're just kind of making it almost too robotic. Like
Now it's a backup for people that are doing medical science, for example. Like I could have applied to it if I had done the Casper, which I probably would have now done to apply to this program. But it's very similar to now like a medical school application where it's just marks and an arbitrary test.
so I kind of got a question like coming off this. Do you think that change is going to deter people from applying to Teachers College? Like do you
To
think
Brock Teachers College for sure.
Yes,
to Brock
yeah,
Teachers College?
I think so. Laurier
Yeah.
still has like written application, I think.
I believe
Last I
York
heard.
and Ontario
Yeah.
Tech as well.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah, no.
applied for Ontario Tech, like like my parents live really close there, and when I applied last year, there was no written anything.
No,
it was
okay, never mind.
just transcript. When I applied to Trent as well, there was like a lot more. I kind of felt like Trent valued the experience more so than the marks, and then Ontario was just purely marks, and Brock was somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, Brock, I
That was
believe,
my
was
finding.
50-50. Now it was 50-50, and then when we started applying, they changed it to 70% marks,
Yeah,
30%
70-30.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of them are transitioning more to marks.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah.
Our cohort would probably be completely different if they
Yeah.
had done this for
Yeah,
us.
I don't know.
There'd be less character. We got some character in our cohort.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, like you need marks, obviously. You don't want somebody teaching students that didn't do very well in their own studies, but it should be a little bit more balanced, I think. I mean, nothing can be based purely off marks.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're like a medical student, I guess, because
Yeah.
that's all
Brock
scientific.
also
But
loves their concurrent program, like 6
Oh,
years,
yeah.
locking students in like for
Yeah.
a 6-year
Yeah.
program. Like that's why there's so few consecutive spots at Brock, because if they can like get somebody's money for 6 years, like they're gonna do that. They're gonna have very limited opportunities for like a 2-year program for someone to come into.
Yeah.
Right?
and
So-
it really locks you in. My buddy of mine decided he didn't want to teach in his second last year of undergrad. And so he had to get out of it, but he had to go back and do all these summer courses. Like they really try to lock you in to those 6 years. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's for the money,
Yeah.
right?
Speaking of kind of things people aren't too favorable about,
Oh,
I should
gosh.
also highlight that our cohort was the last ones that are in Niagara. Anybody applying for Brock this year
Yeah.
is getting shipped to Burlington
Shipped
for
off to
better or
Burlington.
worse, depending
Yeah.
on your situation.
So that's consecutive, right? For all of it.
Consecutive, yes.
Yeah. So so I did my undergrad like at Brock. I've been in St. Catharines for 4 years now.
I think we all did we not? I didn't.
We're all
Yeah,
Brock students,
yeah.
yeah.
And like I played rugby from my 3rd year, my 4th year, and a big part of me wanting to like continue schooling was just to like keep playing rugby. I lost a year for COVID, so I didn't feel like I really like had as much of a like collegiate career as I wanted. so I had the choice between like JI and IS, like, but IS was gonna be in Burlington,
Same.
and I was like, I kind of want to do IS. Like, I have my phys ed, I have my physics, like that would be cool. But just the idea of like making the commute to Burlington, like I know people come from Hamilton, which is very similar, but I just like that is not for me. So I ended up doing JI so I could stay in St. Catharines. But yeah, having that choice, like, was the reason why I'm here right now. So
Yeah, I mean, you could do it after, so it's not a big deal. That's kind of what I did too. I wanted to teach. I want to teach high school history, obviously, but yeah, I stuck with this for a few reasons, and one of them was the commute, which
The B factor, yeah.
yeah, exactly. The B, that's good.
The B factor.
You have to consider the B factor.
Yeah,
bro.
like I'd been here for 4 years. I didn't have a collegiate career, but I had a damn good intramural career where I was killing it every year. So even like all the people I know are still here. Like I didn't want to.
you should advocate for your intramural volleyball team right now. Use this time. I'm
hiring.
Start recruiting.
Next year, if you're watching this, get on the wait list. I'll put you on it. So
Real.
yeah.
We can do the Mr. D tryout schedule, or like, if you are this tall, you don't make the team. If you are this tall, you are a team captain.
I'd be covering my own team. It'd be brutal.
Brutal.
Every team needs a water boy.
Well, that about summarizes all the Reddit questions, but I'm going to make up one on my own. Do you
Okay.
have any advice for future teacher candidates entering this program for the 2025 fall? I'll go with Kyle first.
That's good, because I need some time.
Save while you can. It's nobody tells you this. It's more expensive than undergrad. I don't really think that they do a good job of advertising that, because a lot of the people I've talked to in the program were surprised when they got their bill too for the first term, and it was significantly higher than
There's
what
a
they
lot
were
of
paying in undergrad.
fees.
There's a lot of fees. So
Yeah.
save your money or get a favorable loan, I guess, from a bank. But yeah, that would be my one advice. And the other advice is I don't know, like, I guess we've kind of been critical here. Don't go into it pessimistic, though. I think it does have something to offer if you're interested in teaching. But be wary that some of it is gonna test your patience, especially the 3-hour classes where you feel like your soul is exiting your body from boredom. So. Yeah, I think that's my advice. Is that good advice?
That is pretty
Do
good
I sound
advice.
wise?
That's
Okay.
good advice.
All right, good.
Yeah, no, we're talking negatively, but like, no, like, I like it here.
Yeah.
I'll add on to your save bit. Like, if you had an undergrad scholarship and you're like have this
I did. Ooh.
preconceived notion of like how much university costs, like you don't get to keep that scholarship going
No,
to teach college.
I
So like
learned
that's
that
a
the
big
hard way.
that's a big part of it too. And you are like, not only are you like volunteering your time, I guess, like for like your placement,
Mhm.
but like it's not even that you're working for free. Like
You're paying
you are paying
for practicum.
to work. Like you are
Yes.
paying the university
Yeah.
to get like this experience, so you can eventually like have a really good career at the end of it. So yeah, there's a big financial portion to it. My advice is for when you're in your placement, because it's kind of like kicked me in the butt a little bit. When you're applying to supplying roles, like when you're going on the like education portal, whatever, like you're trying to get a supply role, reference letters are like very important. Like they have links where you can like attach them, and you need to have a reference from a principal in the region, or at least like be able to like have a principal refer you for the job. So in my placement on the last week, like we were done on the Friday, it was like a PA day, so we were done then. But on the Tuesday, it was either Tuesday or the Monday, I invited my principal to the classroom, and I did a lesson on literacy like in front of her, and then I invited her so she watched. She saw me teach, and I was like moving around the school, making sure like throughout my whole placement, making sure like she saw me. She saw I was like contributing, doing this and that, coaching basketball. So she definitely knew who I was. And then like at the end of it, I said, "Hey, thanks for like coming to watch this lesson." And I had a piece of paper like already like written up with all the notes of like when I started, when I'm finished, like my name, how I've contributed in the classroom, how I've contributed like outside the classroom, like some things. Like I basically wrote myself a reference letter
And
and just
sign it?
asked her like to sign it, and like it was just notes so that she could like do her own like touch to it. And I asked like, "Hey, like I'm gonna be wanting to apply to the supply teaching roles like in the Niagara region, like a reference letter would go a huge way. Like, would you be able to do this for me? And she goes, yeah, absolutely. Like, this is great. Like, thank you for your lesson. Like, write down your email for me, because if I don't get to it this week, like before you're gone, like, I'll send it to you. I understand principals really important, principals are really busy, got a lot of stuff going on, but sometimes like they'll do that, and then a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, you reach out, you email, no response. Another couple weeks goes by, you reach out, you talk to your AT, you say, hey, if you see her in passing, can you mention it to her? It's like, you just spend 8 weeks at this place, like you want something to show for it, like you want a reference letter for your hard work. If you don't get that, like I didn't get it. That's where I'm leading to the story. Like I never got one.
Okay, all right. I was
it,
like waiting there for like when it finally came.
Yeah,
But,
no, like it sucks.
That sucks.
It really does suck. So now I'm applying to like supply teaching roles with reference letters that aren't from like a DSPN principal, like other people I give it to, and it's just not the same. So my recommendation is get on that early. Make sure like it's not the last week of your placement. It's maybe like halfway through, and then you can say like, hey, like I'm gonna want this, and try to get on that early, because it's definitely something you will want to get out of your placement.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
For future teacher candidates, when you're at teachers college, you gotta have fun with it. That's my thing.
You gotta have.
You gotta have something to get you through. You gotta have an
my
intramural
gosh.
to look forward at the end of the day. You gotta have a podcast to look forward to just
Yep.
doing for funsies.
Mm-hmm.
Do rugby if you're at the collegiate level for that.
Yeah, we're always looking for more people that want to play rugby.
Reenact the War of 1812. Oddly specific, but I think that's something Kyle might enjoy. But
Yeah. I do that.
There you go.
awesome. Well, that
So-
about sums it up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Shout out to Greg and Kyle. And yeah, that's about it.
Thanks for having us, Jacob.
No problem.
Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, very nice to be on here.